Cannot tell you how much I miss having a bike with some storage. Thank you all. That wasn't my right of way, but whatever. God, I've got so much weight in my rucksack right now, it's unreal. If I have a crash, I am fucked. Well, what is happening, YouTube? Vector here, back again. We're continuing on from last week's video, kind of. And leaving Plymouth again. Let's put a headlight on, shall we, so we can not get killed. See me in the back of that car? Ew. We're heading out to, I'm going to head up to Dartmoor, take the slightly longer way around just because I can. You've seen in the last video, Magna had its MOT passed, which is always a good thing. Can I get across here? Yeah. Oh dear. I want to roll with these lights, don't I? Close that. Topic I want to talk about in this video, something I mentioned in the last video and didn't expand upon, is I want to talk about the British motorcycle industry, what's left of it. And this is kind of brought on because recently, at the time of filming, it'll be a couple of weeks before you see this, but recently CCM sadly has entered administration. They've already had layoffs in recent months, and yeah, they've finally gone. They've entered administration. I mean, of course, technically they could be saved. They could pull a KTM and find enough investment to continue, but at time of filming they have not. And let me just show you a little pro strat with those lights changing there. Just go through the petrol station as I'm turning left up here anyway. They've got these annoying speed bumps, which is basically just a curb in the road, but saves you lots of time. And we've got out ahead of that Mercedes we're behind. Pro strats. So yeah, no, CCM are gone. They're into administration. They're no more. They've ceased production. They're properly shut down at this point, and it really sucks. They were one of my favourite of the British brands. I recently, like 9 months ago, but I recently went to Motorcycle Live in Tennessee in Birmingham and had a good look around their store there, and like I sat on their bikes and had a proper look at them. The quality is fantastic. They're really interesting. Like, they don't look like any other bike, the CCMs with those little trellis frames and that. They look really cool. They're supposed to ride amazing. Like, I know there's like 800 varieties that are basically the same bike, but they're supposed to be great fun. They're all really agile and like little sort of peppy single cylinders and stuff. Like, it's supposed to be really good. That new bike they had, which is now not going to release at all, unfortunately, the Project X kind of baby adventure bike, that thing looked awesome. That thing looked really cool, and it's no more. It's not even, it didn't even make it out, unfortunately, which absolutely sucks. It was at the NEC. It was a production ready model. It was ready to go out onto sale, and I guess it was just, you know, too late. A year, 6 months maybe too late, and then yeah, that was it. Game over. It really sucks because CCM were one of the remaining proper British brands. Like, and by that I mean actually a British owned company mostly. Again, I believe they had some investors. Everything has some investors at this point, but British majority owned company actually making bikes in Britain. Yes, the engines were, I think they were import licensed. Are they Rotax in the CTMs, or were they one of the other ones? I don't remember. What's Doris doing here? Are we going somewhere, Doris? Oh, there's your indicator. That's alright, I'll let you off because I was worried you were going to be going up the way I'm going. So we'll tolerate that. There used to be a guy down here who had really cool like American trucks and stuff, and I think he's moved, which is a shame. Just now coming out through Plimpton here, we'll turn left at just here. This will take us up past Barrington Hall, and then it will lead us up onto Dartmoor via Cadaver Bridge. And back when I was living in Plymouth, and sort of living out this way actually, this was my go-to route up to Dartmoor, and particularly before I got my sat-nav and before I was a little bit more adventurous with route planning, I basically just did this road a billion times, and it's nice. What is that? Clothing. Okay, someone's work jacket or something. Thought it was just an animal, so it's not so bad. This part of the road is falling apart slightly. Oi, oi, oi. Need an adventure bike for some of these bits. It does get better though, from what I remember. Been a little while since I've been up this road. Anyway, so yeah, they're one of the few British bikes, and they're gone, and we'll be left with. We're left with Norton, which make your own arguments about whether they're British now. I mean, they are still made in the UK. That's the main thing. British bikes made in Britain by British people, but of course they are now Indian owned. I don't think they'll ever move to India though. Maybe they're cheaper. Maybe they'll introduce a cheaper model. But I think Norton, so much of Norton's selling point. Hello, we got a friend. So much of their like ISP is ISP, USP. It's a service provider. Oh, hello. Who have we got here? We've got a little training school. Are these the good ones or the bad ones? Oh, they're sure pass. These are the bad ones. If you're in Plymouth, local area, don't use these guys because they're shit. Sorry to be blunt there. They're awful. Use first class back in Koi Pool. This is going to be a twat to overtake now because I don't want to scare the bejesus out of the learners, but I guess we'll see if they wave me past. Alright, pull out on one of the straight bits. So I think so much of Norton's selling point is that they are properly British still. So I don't think they'll ever move the production abroad unless they're like on the brink of collapse otherwise. Beyond that, does Ariel make a bike still, or have they gone back to just like the Atom and the Nomad and the cars? Because they had a little bike for a while, which I don't think sold any number at all. And then there's another one I can never remember the name of because I was looking on LinkedIn the other day for bike brands, and I find one that I basically hadn't heard of, which makes some sort of like super small volume turbo johnny. But basically that's it. Like CTM was like the kind of the biggest and the go-to that we had left, and then all the rest are imports. You know, Triumph, BSA, Royal Enfield, all of the little 125s, like Mutt's gone as well. Mutt's going into administration, but MASH and Herald. What else we got? Like there's a billion of those ones, but it's a little bit of a bleak time for the British bike industry. It brings me on to this kind of topic of, and a debate that I have with myself sometimes, and a conversation I've had with many people at bike meets about what I would want to see out of the British bike industry, and I don't know the answer to that myself yet. That's the thing. I'm below very hot and cold on the whole concept, because on one hand, of course, I wish the British bike industry was as it was back in the day, which, disclaimer, I turned 30 this year, so I have never seen the British bike industry back in the day. By the time I came around, and certainly by the time I was old enough to be conscious of bikes and such, it was gone. It was all gone, all of it. The heyday of the British bike industry had already kind of come and been and passed. And let's see how much mud you've pulled down. Not too much. We had a bit of rain recently, it's not too bad. Oh, smell the manure off that bad boy. But yeah, like they were all gone. Triumph was still kicking at that point, but they were making kind of crap, like the 90s Triumphs. They made a lot of cool bikes in the 90s, don't get me wrong. There's some really nice ones like the Adventurer, the Legend, all of these sort of like triple versions of the bodies. They were all really cool, but like there's also a lot of reliability issues with things in the that era of Triumph, in the kind of the last of the old Triumph before it kind of semi-revived itself. From what I've heard, at least, they tend to be a little bit fragile, shall we say. So things like the Sprints, the TT600 with its awful fuel injection, things like that, right? They were sort of, the heyday had gone with them, even if they were still remaining. But yeah, I would love to see a proper booming British bike industry, and car industry for that matter. I mean, I'm not too much of a raging nationalist, but like I would love to be able to, you know, if I was in the position to be buying new vehicles, which I'm not, I'd love to be able to buy a British car and a British bike and ride a bike on those. Up this way as well. And by that I don't mean like you know, an aerial atom or a caterer. Like I just want like a Ford Fiesta, but like a British cheap hatchback. Like I want us to have a Dacia. I want us to make just like cars for people, real people, not so much like rich toss bags. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. I'll close this again. It's never going to happen because we don't have a manufacturing industry really anymore, not a proper one, and we probably won't now because there's nowhere for it to go. We've all of the old factories have been taken down and destroyed, and they're all turned into housing and shops and stuff. And like, even if we wanted to move back to an industrial kind of footing, there's physically not enough land to do this stuff on. You know what I mean? Without cutting into like green belts and stuff like that. We're such an overpopulated country. To build these, like, particularly for the size that modern factories are, it's not just like, you know, 8 guys on a bench anymore with some tools. It's, you need like robots and production lines, and particularly if you're making something that isn't small volume, making like an actual usable product, you need it to be a production line, because you need to be able to do that in volume in order for it to be affordable per unit. Thanks to the, you know, the direction this country took, you can blame a lot of that on Thatcher, we won't get into that, but we, you know, we opted as a nation, we hung our economy on banking, and there are benefits to that, but there are detriments to that, and one of the detriments is unfortunately our manufacturing industry. So I don't know if we'll ever see a proper, I don't know if like Triumph would ever bring manufacturing back to the UK, because it wouldn't be able to compete with the foreign markets unless it was getting subsidised by the government, unless we were offsetting the difference by some sort of backing, which, you know, kind of like the Chinese do with their stuff, frankly, where like the government they can charge so little for their stuff because they're getting subsidies. But that's kind of like not the right way to do things, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of like, I don't want to say disingenuous, but it kind of is, right? Like it's, you kind of want your industry to be able to succeed on its own without being propped up. Should have got up this road. This is a dead end road, but I used to go up here a bunch back in the day as well, so we might as well continue the nostalgia tour. It leads up to the edge of the quarry and then just ends there. There's a nice walk. You walk up to some of the tours up here, but I just used to go up here because there's a little car park at the end, and not so bad these days. It improved a lot, but back when I was riding back here, it used to be the only spot up around here that had signal. So like, if I stayed down here I wouldn't be able to check my phone, but I could go up here, check my messages, check my Discord, and then head home again. So we'll head up here now. But yeah, so it's we're kind of stuck where like you either need your British, in quotes, brands to be making their stuff abroad, like Triumph, like BSA, like all the rest of these, or you have them made in-house, but then they cost so much more. Suddenly that's why your Bonnie is, what's a Bonnie now, 10 grand, 9 grand for like a T100, and then your Norton Commando is 17, 18, and it's arguably a worse bike. Like it arguably doesn't run as well, and it's like lumpy and unrefined, and yeah, they're very well made, they're very pretty, and they're handmade rather than machine made, but like they're not, the quality's not actually that much of a step up really. So it's like, they keep taking the piss with that fly tip. You see the state of that? That is disgusting. That's the downside about this being a dead end road with nothing on it, is people come up here and just twat around. Although the flip side is I came up here years back, before all of the drone bans and licensing, so calm yourself, DNC police. But I came up here and there was a lad flying his drone, a little POV drone. We had him chase my bike around. It was great. Look at all the horses. Look at all the Dartmoor ponies out today. I normally go up there, but there's a few too many horses today. I think I'm going to have to go around the corner there. Actually no, I shouldn't go over there. Fuck it, they'll be alright. I won't spook them too badly, we'll just turn around here. Beautiful. These are the Dartmoor ponies. They are wild horses, but they're they're kind of well, they're well used to people because there's enough people up here. They don't really get too bothered. If anything, they'll wander over and try and have a nibble at what you're doing, which cannot be so good. Hey babies. Oh. Hi. I keep trying to look to the left because I don't have to blur me reg plate the whole time. Look how pretty they are though. These are the young ones. These are probably this year's. Beautiful. Alright, well, I'm going to eat a donut and then I'll get back to that point and catch you in a minute. Can you see that dot there, GoPro? That's a Chinook flying over there. I hoped it would come back this way to get a photo, but sadly not. Man, my bike looks sexy though, look at that. Alright, let's get out of here. There's a pony in the bushes asleep just over there. Bless it! Of course, times like these are the one time that I'm not sad I don't have a aftermarket exhaust, because they're basically unbothered. Nice and slow regardless though, because there are young ones around. Hey baby. Beautiful. Not many places you can have your lunch with wild horses, is there? And sheep. Sheep and lambs up here and all. Bless them. The lambs are unimpressed by my presence. Oh, should we have a nose at that other bit of fly tipping and see if the van's still there? Here it was. Oh no, this is riveting YouTube content. Bear with me. What are we working with today? Oh, it's been reported at least to West Devon Borough Council being investigated. Whatever the that means. But yeah, just another building waste, innit? Rubble, kitchen counters. Slam man. So I want a little punch target. Look at the face on that. Pricks though, innit? Fortunately there's not a great deal anyone could do about it, because all you can really do is you can sort through and see if they've been stupid enough to leave anything with their address on, but beyond that you're kind of shit out of luck, unfortunately. So always got to be one. I'll cast no judgment about who that was likely to be. Fill in the gaps yourself there. So yeah, so the point really about the British bike industry is, yeah, I'd absolutely like to come back, but would I prefer proper British only bikes and not have any of these cheaper imports at all? And well, no, frankly I wouldn't. That's the thing, you kind of want both, because yes, I would love to own a proper British bike, but can anyone kind of normal afford that? No, they're really expensive. And should the barrier of entry be so high as to be preventative for a lot of people? Well, no, it shouldn't. People should be able to have bikes that look the part. I'm going to have to crack the visor again. Apologies. Warm, walking around. You need something. You need an entry point of like cheap imports that look good. And you know, like Triumph, like we say cheap imports, like Triumph are incredibly good bikes, but they're just not made in the UK. And then you also have the next level up, which is the proper British stuff. And you have to also ask which is better for the community, because you know, as you know, I go to a lot of these bike meets. You see a lot of classic British bikes, certainly. But when was the last time you saw a CCM? Even when they were still going. at a bike meet? When was the last time you saw a Norton? You occasionally get Commandos, but that's about it. When was the last time you know? When was the last time you saw an Aerial at a bike meet? An ordinary, not necessarily like a specialist show, like just a general weekly bike meet. And the answer's probably never, right? That's just probably like not at all. So at that point, who is contributing more to British motorcycling in terms of the community rather than the industry by buying the cheaper bikes? Well, it's probably the people buying the cheaper ones, because they're actually using the things and they're not just sitting in garages getting polished until the metal is, you know, 1 micron thin because it's been polished within an inch of its life. And they've done like 300 miles total on the bike, but they've done 45,000 miles on the disc polisher. Fucking hell, that's a gap. You end up in this situation where you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like if you really pushed for, like, we only want a proper, true, real British bikes and get real, like, up your own ass patriotism, which, you know, that tends to lead you into sounding like an American, which is something we should always be avoiding. It only really works if we're making enough bikes in this country to bring them down to an affordable price point. We're never gonna compete with Thailand and Asia and Malaysia and, you know, all of these places, because we have actual labour laws and we have more expensive utilities and we have more expensive materials, and it costs more to get shit up here. But the people's the main difference is, like, you know, we actually have to pay pensions and, like, adequate wages, and not just adequate, you need to pay good wages because it's skilled work. And it's like, you're never gonna be able to make a Triumph, for example, in Hinckley if they tried to reopen like a proper Hinckley factory instead of just being for R&D. You're never gonna make a Triumph in Hinckley for the same price or the same margin that you can in Thailand. And at that point, where's the incentive for the companies, other than, I guess, if we all just stopped buying them? But no one's going to, you know. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, and particularly actually if you're old enough to remember the proper British bike industry and what it was like before it kind of died off to the Japanese imports. Like, what do you think about it? Do you think is the patriotism worth the asking price on a lot of these bikes? Would it be good to have them all as they are now, where most of them are import? Would it be better to have most of them in the UK? Would it be better to have all of them in the UK? Or would it be good to have a greater range of kind of like I mean, what if they had 2 ranges of Triumph, for example, where you had like the imports they have currently, and then you have like a made in Britain one that is more expensive but is properly made here? And I know they have that with the TFC, the Triumph Factory Custom, but like that's very limited run and very expensive, but B, it's largely a paint job. It's still built abroad, it's just painted here, they're still not making anything. So yeah, what do you think? And do you think a new brand, not so much one that's like reviving an old name or like, you know, playing off the nostalgia, but do you think a new company could start in the UK and make affordable bikes here? I don't mean importing Chinese ones and sticking a sticker on them and calling it good. I mean actually making a bike here. What do you reckon? But either way, CCM is gone, and I'm very sad about it. They may get bought out, you know, it is possible, but realistically they're not KTM. There's not the same level of love and the same passion behind them, and there's probably realistically not the same level of potential profitability for it to be worth anyone investing in at this point, unless someone wanted to invest just to get the Project X out the door and then see what happens after that. But that's still a big leap of faith to take, isn't it, really? As good as the Project X looks, like, I mean, how well is it going to sell? It's still a niche bike. So yeah, sad times, really, sad times. Like I mentioned in the last bike, like, Triumph is doing good. Actually, Triumph's doing more than good. I was watching something recently, and yeah, Triumph is like doing better than Harley, worldwide sales for the start of 2025. Like the first quarter, they sold more units, not least because they've got a few of the cheaper options now, like the 400s and the Trident and stuff like that. And they're in there again. Like, people are quite down on some of these bikes, but then if that's what the brand needs to be commercially successful, then surely that's a good thing, even if all it does is subsidise them to continue existing and being able to afford to make the bikes you do want. Bit of both maybe. But then how do you maintain a consistent quality between the more expensive proper, in quotes, bikes and then the cheaper stuff? Answers on a postcard, folks. But I'm going to leave that one there. So thank you very much for watching, guys, as always. This, like I say, this video had no point really, because I don't know the answer to this myself, so I kind of have to just devil's advocate it the whole way through and then go from there. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video. Ride safe. Peace. If you need me for the next video, I'll probably still be at this conjunction. It's a twat of a thing to get out of this one.